Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
We are the Breakfast Club. Let's get in some front page news. All right, some quick sports. Sauce Gardner, cornerback for the Jets, just signed a 4-year extension for $120.4 million. He becomes the highest paid cornerback of all time. So
congratulations
drop a
to
bomb
that
for him,
man. You get to get paid all of that money to suffer in New York playing for the Jets, man. That's what's up.
All right. What up, Morgan?
He deserves that. That's compensation.
Yeah, for the Jets.
Okay.
I agree. What's up, Morgan?
Hey, y'all. Hey, how we feeling on a Wednesday?
Good.
Blessed, black, and highly favored. How you doing, Morgan?
I'm doing good. Let's get into some of the news that's coming out of New Jersey. Unfortunately, following the aftermath of the flooding there, at least 2 people are dead after heavy rains led to flash flooding on the East Coast. Now, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy made a statement, said his state was smacked by the rains, and he also talked about what that looked like. Let's take a listen to New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy's comments.
Last night we got crushed. Not just here in Berkeley Heights, but in this part of the state in particular. 6 inches of rain in under 2.5 hours in 2 waves. Importantly, 1 wave sort of knocked a lot of these communities a little bit off kilter, and the second one came in for the kill.
Yeah, so the 2 people were killed in New Jersey after their car was swept away by high waters, and that storm sent floodwaters rushing through New York subway stations, causing mass transit issues as well. Department of Environmental Protection Commissioner Roques Agrawala says the city sewer system was not meant to handle a storm so intense, and a lot of work does need to be done to increase capacity. He also talked about the infrastructure. Let's take a listen to Department of Environmental Protection Commissioner Roques Agrawala.
We're not talking about repairing a broken system. We're talking about expanding a system. Frankly, in most cases, if there's a quick fix, we've already done it, but we're going to keep looking for more. And then we have to think about how to do things differently over the long term. The reality is that the subways are underground. They are where water will flow. And so we do work very closely with the MTA to protect that underground infrastructure, but it is a long-term effort.
Like I said before, with the infrastructure, we've had these problems before. This is not like this is the first time we've had nasty weather and it caused disruptions. It caused water in the subway. It's caused flooding. People have, lost their houses or even lost their lives. So if this has happened before, and especially in the same areas, we can send people to space, but we can't fix the infrastructure when it comes to water flowing. That seems weird to me.
So that's happened here before, like it did?
Like the water
before?
in the subways and all that? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but the crazy thing about New Jersey, they've always been actively working to improve its flood infrastructure. So, I mean, that's the interesting thing about that flash flood. There were warnings about it all day long.
Oh, yeah, I see warnings, yeah.
Like, all day long, they were telling us that it was supposed to flash flood, it's supposed to flash flood, it's supposed to flash flood. I just think, man, climate change has made these things a lot stronger, and there's really nothing you can do when Mother Nature hits.
Well, Agrawala went on to say that it will take decades and billions of dollars to expand the city's water system, adding that DEP works closely with MTA to make necessary upgrades to prevent flooding in the subways. And of course, in Texas, we're talking about the aftermath and recovery efforts there. Rain continues to impact those recovery efforts as well. So we're going to continue to, just try to stay vigilant and heed to those warnings as they come. Still, 130 people died in that flooding in Texas, and
that's hard.
More than 100 as well, still missing. So,
and I wonder too, even when you do make improvements to the infrastructure, being that climate change is making flash floods worse,
more often, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the worse climate change gets, it's like you got to constantly keep updating, I guess, your infrastructure.
Right.
That's right. You got to keep it up. Well, that's your front page news for 6 a.m. at 7 a.m. We talking about these Epstein files because, child, hold on to your wig.
All right.
Hey,
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Let's get back to some front page news. Now, quick in sports, Sauce Gardner, cornerback for the Jets. He just signed an extension for 4 years for $120.4 million. He becomes the highest paid cornerback of all time.
He deserves it, man.
Congratulations to him.
Anybody that has to suffer playing for the Jets for the next 4 years deserves to get paid all the money that they can get, man. Salute to Sauce Gardner.
So they're not a good team?
They suck.
Jesus.
They've sucked for years.
They're not a good team, though.
Okay.
Red a Jets fan. Red the only Jets fan I know. Well, no, Mac was a Jets fan.
Was a Jets fan.
Oh, and Gary Vaynerchuk. But I don't know if Gary really liked them or he just want to buy them. Either way, they suck.
Yeah, they're not
Damn.
good. What's up, Morgan?
Hey, y'all. Hey, all right. So let's get back into it. Let's talk about the Epstein files or lack thereof. We're trying to figure that part out, right? So President Trump says he doesn't understand why his supporters are so fascinated with the case of the disgraced financier, Jeffrey Epstein. Trump told reporters as he left an event in Pennsylvania that Epstein was never a big factor in terms of life, adding that credible information has been given. Now, Trump also went on to call the case boring. He spoke to reporters yesterday and insisted that the files were made up by former presidents Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and other Democrats. He also said Attorney General Pam Bondi should release whatever she thinks is credible. Let's take a listen to President Trump.
She's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release.
Yeah, so this comes as the Justice Department and FBI issued a joint memo recently stating that Epstein did not have a client list and confirmed that he died by suicide in his New York City jail cell in 2019, as opposed to other conspiracy theories that have been thrown out there. Now, the Epstein files have been a source of controversy in Washington, with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle calling for the release of case documents. Speaking of those lawmakers, House Republicans have blocked efforts from Democrats to force a vote on releasing files associated with Epstein's case. House Democrats unsuccessfully urged the chamber to oppose a routine procedural vote on an amendment requiring Attorney General Pam Bondi to preserve, compile, and publish the Epstein files. However, Republicans cleared the majority threshold that Democrats were hoping to avoid and supported a procedural vote of 211 to 210 decision along party lines. Meanwhile, Attorney General Pam Bondi, she dodged questions recently about Jeffrey Epstein. Bondi spoke at a news conference yesterday saying the focus was on fentanyl overdoses and families who have lost loved ones to the drug. Let's take a listen to her comments.
Nothing about Epstein. I'm not going to talk about Epstein. This today is about fentanyl. This is about a wall of people right outside this room who have died from, I appreciate your question, but this today is about fentanyl.
Of course, Bondi has been on the defensive since the Justice Department announced it would not release any more information in the case. Bondi also refused to answer questions about Deputy FBI Director Don Bongino's future, which seemingly remains uncertain. And Speaker Mike Johnson says Attorney General Pam Bondi needs to explain her statements regarding Epstein. His comment comes in response to the Justice Department, of course, announcing that they're not going to release any of those files. Now, Johnson's remarks express a difference in rhetoric that breaks away from President Trump, who has defended Bondi. Now, Johnson also emphasized that his trust is in the president, but also noted that he supports transparency and said we should put everything out there and let the people decide. Now, U.S. Representative Thomas Massey, he says he plans to force a vote that would decide whether the Department of Justice has to release those files related to Jeffrey Epstein. On Tuesday, the Kentucky Republican said he's introducing a resolution that would require Bondi to release all unclassified records regarding Epstein. The resolution says the files can't be withheld or redacted, even if they cause reputational harm to government officials or public figures. This, of course, again, after that memo came out last week that said Epstein does not have a client list and that he died by suicide. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, once again, I've been saying this all week. Democrats do not stop talking about the Epstein files. Okay, that is your transgenders and women's sports issue. That is the issue that builds a bridge between you and those MAGA supporters. You know, those people who voted for Trump last election. Now, I do have a couple other thoughts, too. Trump keeps blaming Democrats, which we know is nonsense. But don't be surprised if a fake Epstein file just all of a sudden appears on social media, okay?
What if there's some powerful Democrats on this list, though, and they don't want
Of course there's powerful Democrats on the list, but I'm just talking about in general. Trump keeps saying, hey, Democrats, the Democrats created this. If a fake Epstein file just pops up on social media implicating all Trump's enemies, don't be surprised by that. And I also wonder if some Republicans are pushing to get the files out because they're actually tired of Trump and they want to finally get Trump out. I wonder.
That's an interesting take right there.
Because we all know, releasing names connected to Epstein will implicate individuals from both parties, but maybe they're willing to implicate individuals in both parties. Maybe they're willing to implicate allies. Maybe they're willing to implicate donors and high-ranking diplomats to finally get rid of Trump and take back their party. I don't know. I'm just throwing scenarios out there. But I just know that Democrats in particular should not stop talking about the Epstein files.
Hey, all right. Well, there you go. I think there's a really interesting story that comes out of D.C. I want to share this with you guys before I go. Trayon White, he is the apparent winner of a special election in Ward 8, the Ward 8 seat on the D.C. Council. Now, unofficial results from yesterday's election show White leading the other 3 candidates with nearly 2,000 votes. Now, this is interesting because White was actually expelled from his seat earlier this year for allegedly violating the city's code of conduct, and he's facing federal bribery charges following his arrest last year. But it appears that he is unofficially won his seat back. So I'm going to continue to watch that. One for my people here in the DC DMV area. That seems to be a trend. Vote him back. Like Marion Barry. I ain't gonna hold you. Anyways, that's your front page news, y'all. I'm Morgan Wood. Y'all can follow me on socials at Morgan Media. And for more news coverage, follow at Black Information Network. Download the free iHeartRadio app and visit us at BINnews.com. And those who are getting those weather alerts, please, again, take heed to those weather alerts. Don't just, just see the weather alerts, but also pay attention to what's going on around you and cross-reference that with other alerts and the weather on the apps on your phone as well. Just pay attention and try to stay safe.
All right. Thank you so much, Morgan. Be safe out there.
Thank you. You too.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.